This is an exciting moment. NOVA can build on its success of the last 50 years to take on the urgent challenge of stopping the unjust loss and pain from crime and increasing the number of victims who get their rights. I hope that NOVA will choose to advocate for changes now to achieve two targets by 2030. After all, what gets measured gets treasured. NOVA has been a visionary leader to inspire a movement to recognize and achieve an extraordinary set of rights for victims. Just some of these are the $40 billion that have expanded general services, compensation, and specialized services for victims. The three major acts, the VOCA Act, the Violence Against Women Act, and the Crime Victim Rights Act, are three equal amongst many other pieces of legislation. NOVA has also trained and inspired a generation of victim advocates who can carry on to reduce victimization and to make services available more widely. So why would you listen to me? Because I've been inspired by NOVA and I've learned from the best and the world. I have been a board member of NOVA. I've had a Santarelli and Schaefer Award. I've also, with the best in NOVA and the world, got a UN General Assembly magna carta for victims, and I've presided over two of the major NGOs working for victims and worked on a proposed UN convention for victims. My recent book on Science and Secrets of Ending Violent Crime is very pertinent to what you might be able to do. It identifies what reduces victimization from US science, and it notes that what works is not widely known or used. It shares international best practice and standards for the support, reparation, and justice for victims of crime, and it talks about how to successfully expand smart investments in effective prevention. It also recommends tools for getting buy-in, training officials and tracking results, marketing the compelling case, particularly in partnership with victims. You don't need reminding that there are too many victims of street and gender-based violence, but these are often thought to be inevitable. They're not, they're preventable, and that's what the US science shows. Just one example of a proven solution are the hospital-based violence intervention programs that outreach to victims of violence in hospital emergency rooms. These get reductions in repeat victimization by as much as 50%. NOVA can advocate to put more prevention into practice, including building on exciting leadership shown by the White House recently with its Office for Gun Violence. But you can also promote successes in cities like Boston and Newark. And indeed, you can learn internationally, particularly where the focus has been on reduction in hospital admissions due to violence. But justice is still blind, even in the United States, to most victims of crime. Less than 10% received assistance from a service provider, according to the Crime Victim Survey. We all know the dimensions where we need to get service going: information, assistance, reparation, protection, and representation. And yes, the European Union can learn from the US, but we can also learn from the European Union, particularly countries that already have victim standing and during the trial, actually during the police investigation, the trial and sentencing process. NOVA's advocacy for those rights, the universal rights for victims, will be accelerated by 5 good governance practices that have been identified by experts. They're listed here. So NOVA can raise awareness of changes needed and of best practices to stop victimization. I want NOVA to advocate for changes now to achieve targets by 2030 of a 50% fewer victims of street and gender-based violence, and doubling the number of victims of crime who receive support, reparation, and justice at the best standards in the world. I hope you will take on this challenge.